Welcome to this week's edition of 10-minute coffee chats with Tash and Damo.
Sharing our lived experience, one story at a time. So Damo.
So Tash.
This week we want to talk about changing the narrative, advocating for metabolic surgery.
We sure do.
So what we're wanting to do in this particular episode is break down the stigma and talk about how we can advocate and use our own stories, our lived experience stories, to make a difference in the metabolic and bariatric space.
For us, metabolic surgery wasn't just about weight loss. It was about reclaiming our health. But not everyone sees it that way, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, it is part of the problem. It is the problem. The current narrative is, and we all know it if we've lived in a bigger body, that there is some sort of shame, guilt, prejudice, stigma associated with living in a bigger body, and also in accessing bariatric or metabolic surgery. It's seen as the easy way out, it's seen as cheating, it's seen as so many things. We all know that that is not the case, but we need to join together to be able to advocate and raise awareness that this is a medical condition that sometimes requires, or most often requires, a multi-pronged, multifaceted approach to be able to see long-term health benefits.
The reality is metabolic surgery is a powerful tool that addresses chronic health conditions.
Yep, 100%.
And for it to be sort of trivialised down to almost a beauty therapy is 100% what it's not. And I hate it when I hear people referring to it, as like you're just lazy or can't be bothered.
Yep, that's right. So these are some of the common misconceptions that we've heard. We've heard all of it. Damo had his surgery 10 years ago. I had mine nearly 7 years ago. We've heard every conceivable opinion on the subject, and thankfully that's all that they are, they're opinions. But facts around metabolic surgery is what we need to focus on in order to raise awareness and to break down societal stigma. And we need a new normal. We need a normal that will address the fact, like I said, that overweight and obesity can be a chronic health condition that needs a medical approach.
Yeah, we've all heard the myths around it. It's cheating, it's dangerous, you'll gain it all back. There's so many. And I even had one person say to me when I was 1 week post-op, I thought you were having weight loss surgery, how come you're still fat?
There's a lot of misconceptions.
A lot.
And those misconceptions can be very, very harmful. And the problem is that they can affect access to the surgery, they can affect funding of the surgery, and because it affects public perception, it can affect things on a governmental level as well. And that's where we need change to happen. That's where real change can take place. We need more publicly funded bariatric surgery in this country. And we will keep banging on about this until we see that happening.
Yeah. How often do the media like to, when they're talking about weight or anything like that, usually it's half a picture of, a person just with their head missing. And usually it's at a table sitting down eating a big greasy hamburger. They get a picture of someone in that sort of worst possible moment to be able to shame them. And that really drives a narrative.
So this is why advocacy matters. It's the power of the language that we use, and it's one way that we can shift stigma, we can shift prejudice, is if we start to use different language around this. We can use the term metabolic surgery, because that's what it is. It is a metabolic surgery that helps to highlight the procedure's role in treating metabolic diseases, not just weight loss.
The whole reason that I had my surgery was because my type 2 diabetes was so out of control that even on insulin, it wasn't helping, and it was going to lead to an early death. So I had to do something drastic.
So words matter. They shape how society, how policymakers, and even how we see our surgery. Another thing that we are passionate about is advocating for better support. We know that it's needed. Beyond language, we need better aftercare. Just yesterday, I was speaking with somebody on Bariatric Support Australia. That is our Facebook community. It's a great space. So if you would like to join that, we would love to have you. But I was speaking with somebody and they were talking with me about their publicly funded bariatric procedure. And they were so very grateful for the fact that they had been able to access that surgery publicly. But they were discussing the fact that after their surgery, the follow-up had been sparse. And these are things that we believe also need to be addressed. We need more publicly funded surgery, but we also need greater funding to be made available so that people can access dietitians, psychologists, exercise physiologists post-operatively. It's an important part of the process. It's an important part of the learning. And these things really do need to be addressed. And they're part of the long-term health benefits.
Yeah, how often do we hear that? And it shows that it's not just a quick fix when people do need that follow-up with dietitians, psychologists, exercise physiologists, physiotherapists that are trained in bariatrics. It's not provided, and people don't have necessarily access to the funds to be able to pay for that. So these things are important.
They really are.
This is where we can all play a role by sharing our own stories and showing decision makers in the government, health ministers, why comprehensive care is non-negotiable.
So how can you and how can I advocate? Because we are the ones, us lived experience folks are the ones with the story. We are the ones with the story that has the power to affect change. Don't ever discount the power of your own story. It is powerful. It has the ability to change things.
Yeah.
So when you share your journey, you help others see that there is hope. And hope is so important, whether it's on social media, whether it's in support groups, whether it's to policymakers, you can make a difference.
Yeah, even just to our regular people.
That's right.
We need to put a human face behind it. And for so long, we've been scared to speak up because there is so much judgment and criticism and humiliation out there.
I mean, when it comes to sharing my story, I will share it unapologetically because I know the power that can come from actually going down this path. I have personally experienced so many health benefits. I no longer have high blood pressure. I no longer have high cholesterol. My, teetering on the verge of type 2 diabetes is gone. There are so many powerful metabolic changes that have taken place in my life as a result of this surgery. But you know what's even more important to me than that is the fact that I've been able to enjoy things with my children like I wanted to, like I dreamed of. I've been able to swim with them. I've been able to run with them. I've been able to hike with them. I've been able to camp with them. All of those things that prior to my surgery were just a dream are now my lived reality.
Yeah. Now, if there's one thing to remember from this, advocacy isn't just for professionals. It starts with us sharing our stories, challenging misconceptions, and pushing for change.
We would absolutely love to invite you to join with us and let's get this conversation rolling. Let's proactively write to health ministers. Let's proactively involve ourselves in online communities, in online support groups who are pushing for change. Let's reach out to WIN, the Weight Issues Network, and find out how we can be involved in the conversation that drives change in our country, because it matters, it's important, and your story matters too.
Yeah, and we want to hear it.
We really do.
So, drop it in the comments in this podcast.
Email us. We'd love to talk to you. This podcast is about our lived experience and our lived experience alone.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's keep fighting to change the narrative together.